Nostalgia alert! Today we are going to be creating some beautiful scratch art in Procreate. I remember doing this as a kid for literally hours. I would create the background with watercolor or markers, draw all over it with a black crayon, and then use whatever I could find to make my designs. Toothpicks, chopsticks, even a fork. It was so much fun. In this video, we're going to walk through a couple of designs. I will give you my tips and tricks along the way, but you're going to be able to do all of this with just the built-in brushes in Procreate. Let's dive right in. Here we are in Procreate, and we're going to walk through how to actually do some scratch art. Let's go ahead and create a new canvas. Click this plus icon right here. You can pick any size. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a square. The first thing we need to do is lay down some background color. There are a few different ways to do that. The first way I'm going to show you is to make a quick gradient. Go ahead and pick a few different colors. And I'm just going to use a pretty thick monoline brush here to lay these down. And these can be pretty rough because we're going to blend these. You just want to make sure that you're getting rid of all of the white, that you're covering that up. And you can change the size of this, put some other colors in the middle here. Once you've laid down all of your base color, you're going to come over here to your adjustments menu and go down to Gaussian blur. Then just drag across the screen here until you get a really nice gradient. So that's the first way to lay down some background color. Really quick, really easy. Let's go ahead and hide that. I'm going to add a new layer here. The second way to add some background color here is to use some texture brushes. I'm going to put a list up here on the screen of some that work really well, but pretty much anything in the Procreate painting set will work. Most of the ones in the artistic set and a few in the sketching set will work. You can just basically play around with them and see what you like. One of the ones that I really like using is in the artistic set, and it's called Aurora. It's this one right here. The reason I like this is because it's a multicolor brush, so whatever color you have selected, when you start dropping down some color, it's automatically going to add some colors that are close by it on the color wheel. So you can see it's adding in a little bit of reds. So where we are right here, it's going a little bit on either side, giving you sort of an analogous color palette. So that's a really quick and easy way to add a variety of color on here. And then if we change this a little bit, I'm going to slide closer to the purple. We're still going to be in that same range, but we're going to get a little more variety of color. So this Aurora brush is one of my favorites. You can also add some background color to this to help when we're blending. Let's go ahead and add a new layer underneath. I'm going to drop a little bit closer to purple and just fill that layer. And then I'm actually going to pinch these to combine. Now when we're blending, it's all going to be on one layer. Let's go ahead and hide that for a moment. I'll show you another brush. If we look at the painting set in Procreate, I have way too many brushes in here. This is a problem. There it is. All right. I'm only showing you brushes that are built into Procreate. Obviously, I have a lot more additional brushes. The old brush, I believe, is a Procreate brush. So this one gives a really nice texture as well, just as if we were filling in our background by hand, and then we're going to color over it later. And you can decide what color palette you like. You can go kind of monochromatic, you can do a rainbow, you can choose complementary colors which are across from each other. Here's a pro tip. When you're laying down and mixing your colors, Try and spread them out a bit so you don't have one big area that's all the same color. This will really help when you're scratching out your designs later. It'll give it a lot more variety. However you choose to lay down your color, once you have enough of it down there that you like, we're gonna go ahead and blend it with the smudge tool here. And usually it will work to smudge with the same brush that you've laid your paint down. If you push and hold on this, you'll see it says smudge with the same brush. And then you're just going to kind of tap around here. Make sure you're using small strokes like you did with your paint. You might need to adjust the size a little bit. And how the smudge tool works is wherever you start your stroke, that's the paint that you're pulling. If I start right here in this dark purple and smudge, it's gonna pull that. If I start here in the yellow, it's gonna pull that on top. We just wanna get this all mixed together with a really nice texture. Cover up as much of that white as we can without completely losing the texture that we've got from our brush here. And once you've done that, if you want to adjust the actual layer, you can do that as well. I'd like to bump up the saturation on this a little bit, so I'm going to come over here to my adjustments, hue, saturation, and brightness. And I'm just going to slide this saturation slider up to about 65%. Take the brightness up a little bit too. This will just help when we have the dark overlay on this for this color to show through a little bit better. Another way that we can blend our colors, if we don't want to use the smudge tool, is actually to use the liquify tool. We come over here to our adjustments menu and go down to liquify. There's a bunch of different options here we can use to blend these colors as well. Push is one of my favorites. It just kind of nudges these colors around a little bit. If you've watched my video on how to make marble art, this is the one that we used for that. And you can kind of just push and drag these around. Expand is also kind of fun to give you little blobs of color here. And of course, pinch is the opposite of that. If you expand it a little too much, you can pinch it back in. You can play around with all of these. There's a bunch of different ways to make your background look really fun. For this first demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to this layer. Now, in order to get our scratch art, we need to simulate that black wax layer, or any color really, that's dark on top of this. We're going to go ahead and add a new layer at the very top here. And you can choose black by double tapping on it, or you can also choose a dark color that complements your palette here. So if we wanted to, we could grab this purple and choose a really dark version of that. That might be kind of fun. And then you just need to color drop that onto your canvas. Now you could actually scratch on this layer. You could take your eraser and come in here and do some scratch art. However, we call this destructive editing because you're actually taking away pixels from this layer. You can't get them back or make changes later. I'm going to 2-finger tap to undo that. The benefit of doing digital scratch art is that we can undo and make changes as much as we want. So the way to do non-destructive editing in digital scratch art is to put a mask on this. We're going to tap this layer and choose mask. Here's another pro tip. Make sure that you swipe right on the fill color layer to deselect it. That way you're only working on the mask layer when you scratch. Now, when I take my pen, I'm going to choose a good brush for scratching. I'm going to put a bunch of these up on the screen right now. Most of the ones in the drawing set or the inking set are going to be really good for this. Let's grab this eagle hawk for now. Now, if we're on this mask layer and we do some scratch art, you can see that this layer is still intact. And if we want to make changes to this, we actually can. So that's the best way to do this. You can also move elements of your scratch art around when you're using the mask. Grab your selection tool. I'm on freehand. Just draw a circle on it, tap that, and then go to your transform tool. And you can actually move parts of your mask around. You can see, let's turn snapping off. If I zoom in here, you can see what is revealing beneath the mask is actually changing. And we couldn't do that if we had just erased part of this layer. We can also change the background here just by revealing different ones of these that we've made, which is pretty fun. So you have a lot more freedom and flexibility when using the mask. Doodles are a great way to relax and meditate, and I think combining that with this simple form of digital scratch art is really fun. The first one that we're going to work on is just some basic leaves. And I'm going to use a monoline brush for this. It's in the calligraphy set. It's a little too big. I'm going to drop it down in size. First, I'm just going to draw these outlines. If they overlap a little bit, it's okay. Just want to make sure that you've closed your lines. And then let's put some stems in. I'm purposely leaving room at the top. You'll see why in a minute. And then I'm going to add some loops around each side before we fill it in. All right, there's the first one. Now, remember, we're working on the mask. We're adding black to this to reveal what's underneath. I'm going to go ahead and use Color Drop to fill in some of these areas a little quicker. I'm going to grab black and drop it on here. Use Continue Fill. So you can see what this effect is going to look like. Now, if I zoom out, you can see we have this really nice outline of those leaves. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of these so you can see what that looks like. And now you can see what all of these leaves look like in a row. And you could continue this process to fill up the rest of the page. Just adding more leaves and filling them in. Another doodle that I really like and helps with mindfulness is a mandala. We can use the symmetry tool for that. Let's go ahead and choose a different background for this. I'm going to go ahead and just group all of these and hide them. So we'll go ahead and use this really nice gradient. Let's add a new layer above this. And I'm going to use black for this one. Double tap and drop it onto that new layer. Tap on the layer and add a mask. Swipe right to deselect the layer so we're only working on the mask. Then we're going to come over to our wrench, that's our actions menu, to our canvas and choose drawing guide. Edit drawing guide, and we're going to change the symmetry over here. Go to options and choose radial. Now, because we have black canvas here, we're going to need to change the color of our guide as well, just so we can see it a little bit. If you just want to use a symmetry and you don't care about the guide, then you don't need to do that. But I like to see a little bit of where I'm working. Then choose done. Now again, making sure we're on our mask layer. Choose the brush that you'd like to use. Let's go into inking. Let's try this thylacine. I think that's how you say it. That is a Procreate brush though, so you should have that one. And this one has kind of a neat textured look to it. I like that. So for a mandala, you can start in the middle and then work your way out. And this can be anything that you'd like. start with a flower. But the nice thing about the symmetry tool is it makes it really quick and easy to do this, and you don't really have to think about it too hard. This is a pressure sensitive brush, so I'm having to go over that a little bit. I think it gives it a nice look, but I'm not getting a very fine tip on it, so I may change that brush later. And like I said, there's really no right or wrong to this. You can just play around and see what you like the look of. But it's a really quick and easy way to make this type of a design. And then when you're done, make sure that you go back into your actions menu and turn off that drawing guide. If you want to share your scratch art, you can come back to your actions menu and go to share, and then choose usually a JPEG or a PNG, and then you can save it to your device and share it anywhere that you'd like. I hope you found that helpful. I love showing people how to combine creativity and technology on this channel. If you enjoyed it, I would appreciate it if you took just a quick second to give me a thumbs up down below. It really does help out my small channel and just tells YouTube that more people should watch this. If you want to learn some more Procreate tips and tricks, make sure that you watch this video next.